Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. Now, what we have today is this beautiful classic recipe, a spaghetti bolognese. Very simple recipe, always delicious, very inexpensive as well. We have all of the ingredients over here, and what I'm going to do is tell you exactly how much of everything we've got and how much that cost. So for this recipe we will need 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil at about 2 pence. We have 1 clove of garlic at 4 pence. We have 1 onion at 10 pence. We have a stick of celery at 6 pence. We have 1 carrot at 7 pence. We've got 300 grams of minced beef, and that is £2.26. We have 1 beef stock cube at 12 pence. We have 1 bay leaf at 4 pence. We have a teaspoon of oregano at 4 pence. We have a teaspoon of basil at 4 pence. We have about 1/4 of a tube of tomato puree at 18 pence. And we have a tin of tomatoes at 47 pence. And I'm going to use about 50 millilitres of red wine. This is optional, but I do like a little bit of red wine in the spaghetti bolognese. So 50 ml of red wine, 56 pence. And we'll have about a teaspoon of crushed black pepper also at 4 pence. So the total cost of this recipe is £3.92. And we're going to get 3 servings out of that, easily 3 servings out of that, making each one of those servings £1.57. Now, spaghetti bolognese, we also want some spaghetti. I'm going to serve about 75 grams of spaghetti with this, which is 12 pence. So each serving, spaghetti bolognese, £1.69. Let's put all that together. First thing we want to do is, again, just chop this onion. I'm going to chop this fairly finely for this. Just top and tail it first and get this out of skin off. I might take another leaf of that off actually, because it a little bit of damage there to it. So that's better. And the beginning of this is very similar to the minestrone soup which I made last week, which was delicious, by the way. And if I were having a 3-course Italian meal, I would have the minestrone soup, and then I would have a plate of this delicious spaghetti bolognese, and then some tiramisu, which will be the subject of next week's recipe. I have decided I will be making the mascarpone for that, or mascarpone, from double cream. So I'm not actually going to buy the mascarpone. What we'll do is make it from double cream. It just needs double cream and a lemon. It's very similar to the cream cheese recipe. Right, there's the onion chopped. Next one is the garlic. And again, I'm going to chop that very fine. Those done, we can do the celery. And lastly, we want the carrot. Now, I'm not going to chop this carrot, peel it, grate it. And this is going to give a great texture to this bolognese sauce. So, there we have the onion, the garlic, the celery, and the grated carrot. Very good. Okay, so over at the hob and in the pan, we've got some, about a tablespoon of oil, and we've got all those vegetables in there, and we're just going to let them soften for a short while over the heat. And whilst they're doing that, I'm going to boil the kettle and get the stock ready for this. Okay, those vegetables have softened nicely, smelling excellent straight away. And next thing we want to do is get the mince in there. Now, as I say, this is 300 grams of lean mince, and that's going in the pot. And what we want with this is just to break it up a bit with the back of the spoon, mix it in there, and we're going to give this another few minutes to let it brown off. So that's had about another 5 minutes on there. The beef was all browned nicely, all broken up nicely, and that is ready to go. So we want some red wine. As I say, this is an option, but I'm going to put about 50 ml in there. That's about it. This will just give it a lovely fruity sort of taste, you know. But it is an option, and it is indeed a cost option. The wine is quite expensive, and this can be made equally delicious without that option. Right, we'll get that mixed in there. Beautiful smell. Next, we're going to add these tomatoes. This is a tin of chopped tomatoes, and we shall mix that in. As I say, this is a meal that comes together so quickly, you know. Quicker than ordering a takeaway, actually. And much fresher, and an absolute fraction of the price. So next we want some of this beef stock, and Oops, it's spilled over the hob there. That's okay, I'll clean that up. It's a matter of how thick do you like it, you see, as to how much stock you would put in there. That's looking okay for me. I'd say maybe just a little bit more. Just be careful with that. There it is. That will do fine, because this is now going to sit on the hob for a little while, and obviously some of this liquid will reduce, but that is looking like a good consistency to me. So next thing we want to get in the pot is some of this tomato puree. That will do it. You see, from this pot I'm going to get 3 good servings out of that. That whole pot there so far, £3.95. Very reasonable. Now I'm going to stick a bay leaf in there. The bay leaf will really bring out the flavour of the tomatoes beautifully. Same with the basil. Basil and tomato, it's a classic. So we have a teaspoon of basil, we have the bay leaf, and we also have a teaspoon of oregano. And to that we want a generous crack of black pepper. That looks and smells delicious already, and it hasn't even cooked down. Once that's cooked down and all of those flavours have combined, that's going to be one beautiful meal. The lid goes on the pan, and we're just going to let that simmer for about 25 minutes to half an hour. I'll come back at that point, have a look, see how it looks, and if it's looking good, we'll then get the spaghetti on. Okay, let's take a look. That is looking fabulous. Smells delicious. Now, on the other hob here, we have a pan of boiling water. And here we have some spaghetti. I'm just going to place that in there, let it soften a little, so we can bend it round in the pan. Now that's going to take about, what, 12 minutes to soften. Right, we're getting very close here. The spaghetti, I'm saying that's looking good. I'm going to strain that off, and then we're going to come back and just douse it in a little butter. Okay, we've got the spaghetti strained. We've just got a really little drizzle of butter in there. Going to pop the spaghetti back in. Just toss that round in the butter for a while. That'll give that a lovely taste. It really will. Right, that's good there. Now we're going to get some of this onto a plate, and we're going to see what the whole thing looks like, and more importantly, what it tastes like. Look at that, folks. Spaghetti Bolognese. Fantastic. It was an absolutely marvellous meal for £1.69. And as you've just seen there, this takes nothing to put together. Very quick meal to make and absolutely delicious every time. And that whole pot of spaghetti bolognese sauce is going to last me a good while. I will indeed, I'll probably have this again tomorrow, and then we will freeze the rest of it and maybe have it next week. So there it is, a beautiful spaghetti bolognese, very inexpensive, always absolutely delicious, and filling. It's a good filling meal, spaghetti bolognese, you know. If you had this as part of a multi-course meal with the minestrone soup beforehand, the minestrone soup was what, 28 pence, was it? 28 pence a bowl, I think that came out at. So that and the spaghetti bolognese, still less than £2 for a delicious, hearty and nutritious meal. So can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more very simple to put together, hearty, delicious meals like this in the future, always on a budget at a very reasonable cost, do consider subscribing to the channel. Next week, what I intend to do is attempt a tiramisu. Now this is something which I've never made before. With that, I'm going to make my own mascarpone cheese from some double cream and a lemon, and we're going to use that in the tiramisu. Now the tiramisu is a little bit more expensive. There's a lot of cream involved in it, but what I would also say is if you wanted a good Italian themed 3-course meal, you would get the minestrone soup, a fresh bread bun, the spaghetti bolognese and fresh homemade tiramisu for about £2.20. I think it's going to come out at about £2.20, £2.30 for that whole meal. But I'll be able to let you know next week when I get the tiramisu made and costed properly. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this spaghetti bolognese. I thank you very much for watching. As I say, if you would like to see more beautiful food like this prepared very simply, do consider subscribing to the channel. And in the meantime, I thank you very much for watching.